welcome to Angry Afro Radio, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the War Room, and I am your host, Chris Baldwin. And today we are going to discuss women's boxing. And you guys know, usually I have Eddie in here to discuss boxing and MMA and wrestling, but today tomorrow actually is International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame inductee ceremony happening in Las Vegas. And I've got the one and only Melissa Smith, boxing historian. She is the author of A History on Women's Boxing. And you also have a blog called Girl Boxing at girlboxing.org. So Melissa, welcome to the show. I am excited to have you here. You are in Vegas right now. Thank you for coming into the War Room. How are you? And tell us what's going on in your world.
Oh, well, first, Chris, thank you so much for having me on and for reaching out to me to do this show. I'm so excited to talk to you and to promote women's boxing, which is where it's at.
Yes.
And tomorrow in Las Vegas is actually, the mayor proclaimed it's Women's Boxing Day. Yes.
Woo-hoo! Proclamation.
Woo-hoo.
Yes.
Proclamation in place. And yes, we will be having, believe it or not, our 7th induction ceremony tomorrow. We started in 2014. We used to be down in Florida with the National Women's Golden Gloves, but now that that's kind of gone away, we're still searching for a permanent home. But this year we're in Vegas. We're so supported by the city. We're so supported
Absolutely.
by the community of
boxing. It's a big combat sports town, right?
It really is. And
right.
We'll be doing our ceremony at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. Which has been incredibly kind to us in terms of giving us the facility and all the things that we need to make this award as amazing as we possibly can, this ceremony, even given the COVID world and the fact that we had to actually cancel last year in 2020 due to the pandemic, but we're doing our best. You know?
So since you guys canceled last year, do you plan on doing 20 and 2021 together? Is that the idea?
Yes, exactly the plan. Those awardees who can attend are coming to our in-person ceremony, and those that are unable to attend due to their own concerns or to travel restrictions, they will be invited at our 2022 ceremony, which we hope will be pandemic free.
Absolutely. Now, who are the inductees? Because I know you're going to be a presenter there. So who's being inducted this year?
Well, this year we have a really fantastic class, beginning with Alicia Ashley, who, those of us, let us say, of advanced years. Really
Team AARP.
Team
AARP, right?
Because Ashley, at 50 was the oldest boxer, male or female. I mean, she beat out Bernard Hopkins to get her WCE title going. So
wow, that's incredible.
Really an incredible fighter. She has been retired for 3 years, and actually she is in China where she is working as a trainer in Shanghai. So she's really gone on to have quite an enormous impact and career on fighters internationally. The thing about Ashley is, part of her longevity is that she was a southpaw, but not only that, the most defensive fighter you've ever seen. I mean, if you want to really see this woman in action, catch her on YouTube videos. She had fights she lost in Mexico because she was just so defensive. Mexican girls could never touch her, but the judges were like, sorry, we're going to go for aggression. But she was just like this.
She can slip and move.
Flip and move, never could put a glove on her, and the most beautiful face to this day. So, and we're also awarding Kathy Collins, who, though she had a fairly brief career, I think starting in 96 to 2001, she was a dynamo out of New York. She came from Long Island and just an absolute crowd pleaser in Atlantic City at places like the Tropicana. And when she would fight at Madison Square Garden and at the Westbury Arena, I mean, she was really something. And her last fight was with the legendary Christy Martin, who parenthetically was one of the first 2 inductees into the International Boxing Hall of Fame last year in 2020. their last fight was epic. If you can catch it on YouTube, please do so. It was absolute war. Kathy Collins lost by split decision, but man, that's one of the better fights you'll ever see. Male or female, doesn't matter.
Right, right.
So we're really proud. I'm personally, as a New Yorker, I'm like, yeah, I get to introduce her, yay.
That's sweet. Now, did you fight? Were you a fighter? You as a pro?
No, I've never been a pro. I'm just strictly, amateur Saturday at Gleason's gym. Mostly I work out 2 to 3 days a week and have been doing so, gosh, well over 20 years, since 1997. I've been fighting out of there and loving it and loving the sport. And it's what sort of brought me to a place where I was able to write the book, The History of Women's Boxing, and really give women an understanding that this is a proud tradition since the 1720s, when boxing as we know it as a sort of recognizable sport started by James Figg. Women were there too in the same ring. So it's kind of cool to me.
Now, did you know Dee Hamaguchi?
Yes, I knew her a little bit. Actually, I trained with her trainer, Lennox Blackmore. So, wow. And she and I are like Facebook friends,
Right. I met her at Wildcard when I was.
Oh yeah, that is her gym. She's extraordinary.
She's got a great story too.
She does, and for the audience to know, she was the first woman to apply to fight in the Golden Gloves, the legendary Daily News Golden Gloves in New York City. And when she sent in her application, she put D. Hamaguchi. So they're like, cool. And then she shows up and they're like, what? You can't do that. And she soon won. She's like, hell no, I am fighting. And
that's right. And she's still fighting to this day.
She is still fighting. And
what's up, D?
Fascinating architect. She
does
fights in a different type of martial arts disciplines, and you can follow her, folks, on Instagram and watch her do her amazing speed bag routines.
That's right. She's a little ball of dynamite right there.
Yeah,
she's like little D.
The sad thing for her is she won the right to fight in the Golden Gloves and ended up losing to the Zion Lion in the first fight. But it didn't matter. She's always in history, and such a spirit for martial sports, and for women in sports, or anybody in sports.
Absolutely.
In sports. So,
and I see you did an article on the Iron Lady. You want to give us a little bit of history on? She's an African boxer, right?
Oh, yes, Helen Joseph.
Helen Joseph, right?
Helen Joseph. Yeah, what a fascinating woman. She came from Nigeria, but originally she lived in West Africa. Very, very kind of sad, difficult child with a lot of loss in her early life, and came to martial sports as a way of sort of reclaiming her own space and gaining a sense of her own purpose in life, and fought and won a lot of bouts in Africa before coming to New York, where she has had a really illustrious professional career, has fought the likes of Delphine Persoon and other fighters of that caliber, amassing a fairly decent record, mostly trains against men. And she used to train at Mendez Boxing, which is a gym out of New York. Unfortunately, we lost the owner of the gym to COVID last year, which is really sad. But watching her box in that gym was really inspiring. It inspired everyone. Like the gyms, when she spars, the gym just stops, and she'll spar for 12 rounds, and she'll have people come in for 3 and rotate out.
Cycle out, right?
Cycle out. Sometimes somebody will come in twice, box 3, off 3, come in for the second 3. But she kicks their butt.
Yeah, I years ago I wasn't a fan of women's boxing because I just didn't think they had the technical skills. I'm a trainer, and you look at body mechanics and boxing IQ. But now today, I'm looking at the women in the top 10 today. All of these women can fight. Like Seniesa Estrada, she's at rank number 1. Amanda Serrano out of Brooklyn, Southpaw, she kicks ass. I mean, all these women are amazing.
She's won in 7 divisions, and it, not walkovers. She fights, and she's fighting actually on what is this guy, one of the Pauls. She's actually gonna the first woman fighter on one of these Instagram fight things.
Oh, okay.
But she's a legit fighter on the card on August 29th. She
should be. She should be
totally legit. And there's been talk, and there's Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields. I mean, these women are freaking amazing because they started fighting when they were kids. And this is really the first generation of female boxers, fighters like Clarissa Shields, like Seniesa, like Marlon Esparza, who are medal winners, or this last class of women who fought at the Olympics. I mean, pandemic Olympics and all the rest, but it is worth watching the female boxing. It was
absolutely
outstanding. And
I want them to start fighting at 3 minutes because they train at 3 minutes, and you can pay them. Or if you don't want to let them fight at 3 minutes, then pay them for 3 minutes.
Pay them for 3 minutes. There needs to be pay equity anyway.
Pay equity, exactly.
Is huge. And listen, elite women amateur fighters fight at 3 minute rounds.
Absolutely.
You were watching Olympic boxing. It's 3 minutes. I fight 3 minute rounds. I'm 67 years old.
Right. Well, I'm 60. We're in the same boat.
We're in the same place. Right. It's like, I train. It's 3 minutes. I get in the ring, trainer.
Yeah.
Hello. And it's interesting because Christina Cruz, who's a fighter out of the Bronx, she's in her 30s. She's a multiple U.S. national and Pan Am Games champion. I want to say that 118, something in there, 122. Mm-hmm. She just had her pro debut last week. She was so frustrated fighting 2 minutes. It's like, what do I do here?
She's just trying to get warmed up.
Started. So that's one of the big, huge things that it's one of the major issues in the sport, because you've got organizations like the WBC who still refuse to sanction 3 minute round fights. They have this science that claims that
I heard Celia Breckus tell us that bullshit. I just looked at her like, wow.
And it's like, what? Meanwhile, state of New York, you can fight 3 minute rounds. We have Sue Reno, who's a little mighty pro fighter, who sued New York State and said, hello.
All right.
They said, yep, you can fight 3 minutes, but women aren't taking it because promoters don't want to promote it. Nobody wants to pay them. And you got sanctioning organizations like the WBC that really need to rethink their process. Or if 3 minutes are so bad, hey, why are men fighting 3 minute rounds? Then look at our sister sports. When you're looking at MMA, those women fight
3 and 5 minute rounds.
3 5-minute rounds or 5 5-minute rounds.
Right.
Just like their male counterparts. So give me a break.
Exactly.
It's all about money.
It is a shame. That is a shame.
It really is.
And I'm like, where do you think women's boxing is going to go? Do you think we need more women promoters at some point? I mean, once the pandemic dies down in a few years, because it's going to be a few years.
Well, yeah. I mean, we need to really rethink boxing anyway, because it remains a sport where, I mean, we just had a judge suspended for WBA for bad judging. No contest. This fight was called no contest.
Because the judge pretty much threw the fight.
But judge threw the fight, made some comments that were very spurious. So WBA did something, but that's rare. So you've got judging issues. You've got issues with mismatches continuing all the time. Like the last Fox PBC card was an embarrassment. So
because they're at the point now, they're just trying to recoup some of their losses.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
just
and they
put them
don't
out.
care. They just throw, they're just
They don't
throwing
care, but
people
it's
together.
killing the sport because people
Right.
continue to go to MMA, which, you know, I watch it because it's out there, and I'm there to support women in the sport and the right to have martial sports. But to me, I'm just always a boxing fan, have been since I was a kid. It's just my sport.
Me too. Yeah.
But
Oh, you broke up there.
at the six, where are there successes and why? And we're seeing successes in MMA, and part of that reason is sort of the closed loop of being in a league. Essentially, you're in a league and you fight other people in the league, and you get your championships in the league, whether it's Bellator or you know, UFC or Strikeforce before.
Right. So we need a boxing league.
So, you know, that's a question. Or having the round robin championship fights, where you're taking a look at who Ring Magazine is ranking in the top 5 or the top 10, in
Right.
top 5 in a specific division, and then having those women fight each other for championships, for the ring belt, giving them the opportunity, and having the promoters and the different organizations, you know, that are like WBA, WBC, IBF, come along and agree to terms, agree to unified rules across those organizations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then they get the promoters on board. Well, good luck. How long have we been trying on the men's side to get a Crawford Spencer fight? Nobody wants to talk to anybody. You know, and then you got organizations like Top Rank, and, you know, yeah, they've got Michaela Mayer, which is great, and they're doing great things for her, but they act as if they never had a female fighter before. Well, hello. They had, you know, they had Riker and they had St.
Right.
John back in the day. So please have some continuity and understanding that it didn't just pop up yesterday.
All right. So now tell us a little bit about the event tomorrow. Are there tickets still available for the ceremony, and like what time should people, and where can people get tickets?
Sure. So yes, if you're in Las Vegas, there are absolutely still tickets available. The event will be at the
Orleans, right?
The Orleans Hotel. All ticket holders, tickets are $85 and $95. You can buy them online at the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame.com website. My understanding is that, you know, doors are opening fairly early, like at 5, but again, check in on folks to see online to see what all the times are. I think the induction ceremony begins at 7. There's a meet and greet at 5. So if you want to actually meet the fighters, there's that opportunity. We give you, you know, chicken dinner.
All right.
You get some food too. And you get to meet Christy Martin, you know, she's my hero. You know, I couldn't be
get her autograph for me. I need her autograph. We're Facebook friends, but I'm like, I need her autograph.
Yeah. So it's really exciting. And Layla McCarter will be there.
She's badass too. I like
she is badass. And you know, talk about a proponent of 3-minute rounds. She did it. She had championship fights with Melissa Hernandez at 3 minutes in Las Vegas 10 years ago. So, you know, what is all this nonsense?
It is nonsense, and it's just a way not to pay women. That's all. That's how I look at it.
It's a way not to pay. And women are right to say, hey, no money. I'm not putting my life on the line to add an extra, you know, extra 10 minutes on a championship fight. You know, go from 20 to 30, and then you're not going to pay me, and I'm literally putting my life on the line. So
absolutely.
Ain't happening. Yeah. So they're right to do it.
All right, now tell everyone where they can find you, and also your book. Tell everybody about your book, and they can find it on Amazon. And
absolutely. So my book is A History of Women's Boxing. It was published in 2014. I can't believe how much has changed since then, and I'm actually working on
a part 2,
a second edition. But they can find it on Amazon. It traces the history of the sport from the 1720s all the way up to the modern era. And
1720s. You have a picture of a woman from the 1720s.
Yeah, well, certainly. I have, you know, back in those days, fighters called each other out just the way they do now. And I have quotes from newspapers from that era. So it's kind of cool.
Wow.
And, you know, I'll give you something really fun. In 1883, cigarette companies used to issue playing cards just the way they did in the 1950s. And there was a company called Liggett. And in 1883, they had 50 cards. And there were two women. One was Annie Oakley for her prowess as a trick shooter. And the other was a woman named Hattie Stewart, who was billed as the female John L. Sullivan.
Wow.
So we're talking very cool stuff. So it didn't just get invented. It goes kind of like this, ebbs and flows.
Exactly. Right. They say history repeats itself.
It repeats
itself. And it does.
And it really does, Chris. And I also take the readers through the popular culture of the day and what the place of women's boxing was in the day, such as around the same period of time, two women fought on an island in Canada right off of Buffalo, because they were going to get arrested in Buffalo, New York, if they fought. and they were literally, you know, ministers in Brooklyn, New York, rising from the pulpit saying, our society is at an end, women are boxing. So kind of cool stuff.
All right, that's fascinating
so that's
stuff.
Thing. And then I go all the way through sort of the, you know, where we are up to 2014. But people can find me at Girl Boxing Now. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. Instagram is kind of my personal account where you can follow along with my considerable travails trying to get my ass into the gym. But
it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle.
Right. And on Twitter, you know, I'm all about promoting the sport and a little bit of politics, but that's how we connect.
A little bit.
And
it's all about sports justice. That's why Eddie and I created, you know, I created the War Room so Eddie and I could discuss, you know, issues around social justice, you know, and the intersection of that with sports. So,
and it's absolutely the case. Women's boxing is very much at that intersection, because you have the gendering of sports, you have issues with who does and does not get promotion and why.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of that intersectionality runs its way through the sport and the issues that these remarkable women confront every day as they practice.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, Melissa. Nice to see you in person. Now I can match that face to my Twitter buddy. And you guys can check me out on Twitter at Angry Afro Radio, and I'm on Mixcloud at DJ Tribal 310. You guys, thanks for tuning in to Angry Afro Radio in the War Room, and we will see you next time. Peace.